In 2021, the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra will be continuing our online presence. We'll be releasing more behind-the-scenes footage, more interviews with special guests. We're really keen to share our stories with you so that you can get closer to us, even if we have to socially distance. I'm Hayato, and I'm the Digital Content Assistant here at the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra. Today, I'm joined by Sharpen, who is our Chief Executive Officer. Some of you may know Caroline already, and some of you may have heard her voice recently on the ABC talking about the TSO 2021 program and what that might hold for us. Today, we're honoured to have her back in the studio with us, where we'll hopefully dig a little bit deeper and talk about our direction going forward. Caroline, thanks so much for joining us today.
A huge pleasure, Hayato.
I guess we'll just dive straight into it. What can TSO lovers look forward to in 2021?
It's going to be a very Tasmanian season, and we can really look forward to seeing our musicians and musicians of the TSO and TSO soloists featuring in concertos, concertinos, small format works. We've got a new series in Launceston, the Royal Park series, and again we'll have TSO musicians in intimate formats, chamber music in the beautiful QV mag, and a glass of Clover Hill.
It sounds very much like we're heading back towards live concerts again, or concerts with audiences, is that correct?
We are, yeah. As of the 1st of December, we can have up to 410 people in Federation Hall. So minus musicians in front of house, that's roughly 350 tickets per concert. So to make sure as many people can attend as possible, we'll do back-to-back concerts, one at 5:30 in the afternoon and one at 8:30 p.m.
Fantastic.
And all of those concerts from Federation Hall will be streamed. So if you're not lucky enough to get a ticket to one of those nights, you won't miss out. You'll be able to watch the concert from your device of choice at home.
There might be some portion of the audience who actually prefer to watch from home as well. So it's great to know that the online part of that concert is still going ahead.
It's one of the amazing things we've learnt this year, that by live streaming we've reached Tasmanians that we've never reached before, and particularly Tasmanians who can't come to the concert hall for reasons of distance or that their health doesn't allow it. So, for example, we've had Tasmanian elders from various aged care residential facilities join us for Friday Night Live. And we've also streamed a couple of our concerts to the Metro Cinema in Burnie, giving access to a whole North West Coast audience, which has been a huge thrill for all of us.
I'd love to see a TSO concert in a cinema.
I know.
How do we plan to communicate more of our online programs out to our audience? Are there any developments that we can talk about today?
In terms of the communication, so much of it has been by word of mouth, and things like Daily Dose have attracted an entire international following just by the shareability of the material and by nature of the fact that musicians and our Tasmanian audiences are sharing it widely. For things like the concerts, we've had a wonderful relationship this year with the Melbourne Digital Concert Hall. So Friday Night Live was streamed all around Tasmania by the TSO and all around Australia by Melbourne Digital Concert Hall. So that will continue next year, and we can't wait to reach as far and wide as we possibly can.
Will the online content for Friday Night Live and the Daily Doses be different next year? Will there be any new developments? The
Daily Dose, despite its name, is now a weekly dose. As of the 18th of September, we transitioned into weekly format, and I'm so delighted that this was an initiative of TSO musicians that really saw the impact of Daily Dose over the 6 months where we went every single morning, and didn't want to lose that opportunity to create a moment of inspiration and truth and beauty, albeit once a week, but that was free and easily accessible by all the new audiences that we built.
What do you think our audience might want to see a little bit more of going forward into 2021?
It's been absolutely beautiful to see the response this year to the video content that we have made, and the feedback that I've been consistently getting is how much people have enjoyed seeing the close-ups and the intimacy of being with someone on the fingerboard of their violin. And another example is with the double basses in their double bass quartet Daily Dose episodes, is just understanding the athleticism of what it means to go up and down that fingerboard, and the spacing and the physicality of that instrument, right through to seeing Andrew Seymour playing clarinet up close and just the mastery of that instrument. So I think those behind the scenes aspects are also really important. Knowing how stuff gets made, knowing what goes into a rehearsal, seeing how music is composed, everything that goes into creating those moments that we all share as composer, performers and audience. I mean, COVID has done so many things, but prior to COVID, we were already working really hard on what we call our One TSO strategy, which is knowing that we have this incredible icon that is the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra. It's been going for over 70 years, and our role, regardless of whether we're musicians, staff, choristers, board members, we're all custodians of this entity. And in that sense, it's a shared identity that we have as custodians of this magnificent orchestra, and everyone has a role to play.
You mentioned quite a few of these new programs that sort of developed over the course of the year. There's one that hasn't come up yet, which I'd like to touch on briefly, which is the TSO House. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about that?
Early on in COVID, we had the whole team come together, and our task for this particular morning was to come up with ideas, and they were ideas for how we'd stay in touch with our audiences and each other, ideas that would be new activities that would reach further into the world and do more for the TSO, ideas to improve the place that we work in, and ideas to tackle some of the less interesting things that are important but we never have time to do, like, filing systems. And out of this morning, David Harvey, our wonderful orchestra librarian, said there's this great need in Australia for a publishing house that takes care of composers at early stages of their career and then right through. And the TSO, we received an award this year for the work that we do in developing Australian composers. And so it wasn't a great stretch for us to imagine establishing a publishing arm of the TSO that was really geared towards supporting Tasmanian composers, Tasmanian arrangers and Tasmanian producers, but also the many composers who over a decade or more have been coming through our composition training programs. That's one aspect of it. The other is that within the TSO we produce a lot of family shows and education, learning and engagement programs. And so there's now a place where these can sit and they can be hired or rented or utilised by orchestras all around the world. It's a platform for Tasmanian work and Australian work, and hopefully a means by which the rest of the world can get to know how great our composers are.
It's so great because the music can be obviously performed by us, but also bringing some of that music into the homes of our viewers and audiences around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Discoverability is so important. We can't always rely on radio or other distribution platforms that we don't control. This is one that we can control and be the mouthpiece for Tasmanian and Australian music.
It's absolutely brilliant. I have so much respect and admiration for this project.
Well, I have huge thanks to pay to David Harvey for getting this off the ground, and then the TSO House project team who's been supporting David in making this come to fruition.
I have a little bit of a curveball question for you, which is, do you think that there might be any non-musical ways that we could engage with our audience, or our audience would like us to engage with them?
We've made some good inroads there too. So immediately springing to mind is Concert 101, which the incredible Robert Gibson has curated and hosted, which fronted every Friday Night Live concert. And it's full of interesting stories, stories about the music, stories about the program and the themes that connect the works, interviews with musicians and conductors and soloists. And that gives a beautiful insight into the music we're about to hear and makes our ears ready to hear it even better. And then I also pay tribute to the philanthropy team who have, over the last 9 months, I spoke about the projects of staying in touch with our audience and ourselves. The philanthropy team has made an incredible effort in staying connected to our audience and our patrons through all sorts of things, including postcards, phone calls, small format meetings, little events where we can socially distance and still come together. Music is what brings us together, but it's what we do when we are together, and it's that human-to-human interaction and that shared understanding, and that's the great role an orchestra can play in a community.
Last year, during the lockdown and the onset of COVID throughout the world, we saw a lot of orchestras put their staff on indefinite leave. As a classical musician myself, it was quite heart-wrenching and worrying to see. Your choices kept musicians employed. It expanded our reach, and it personally affected me too. How does it feel to know that you made such a big impact on the organisation and, in turn, music in Tasmania?
That's a hard one. I think we had a lot of the right ingredients, including a level of government investment that helped to a certain extent. But the most important thing in any organisation, and especially in an organisation like ours, is the people who make it. And orchestras don't just happen by accident. They're an accumulation of intellectual capital, skill, resilience, artistry, and it takes generations to build an orchestra. So the absolute last thing that you would ever want to do is to disrupt that continuum. And so right from the get-go, the first thing that we did was cut every unnecessary cost to make sure that we could give job security to all of our employees. And then I think anyone who's run an organisation knows that when employees are secure and the organisation is looking after everyone, then you get back over and above in return, and all you need to do is look at the output of the TSO this year and you can see that in spades.
As the announcements were rolling in, I think it was around mid-March.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th of March.
I'll never forget that.
Can you talk us a little bit about just what was going through your mind at that point and some of your philosophies around how you were going to approach the next few months? Or even weeks, the next day, the next week, the next month.
It really did become very much an hour-to-hour thing for a period of time there. And Friday the 13th of March was the great example because it was the day that the PM was prevaricating about whether he'd allow this rugby match to go ahead and whether he'd be encouraging people to go to the rugby or not. And he came on the telly at 3 p.m. and said, no, it's COVID is a thing. And it's certainly not advisable, and I'll be advising people not to attend. And we had a fully locked and loaded Brahms Requiem that was performing the following night to a full house, and so we had to make a quick decision. Is it a prudent decision to go ahead with this full performance in a full concert hall, knowing that this pandemic was bearing down on us, or not? And that's when the team first mobilised, and we gave ourselves half an hour. And within that half an hour, we secured the ABC to record the sound. We had 5 cameras ready. And so that next night, we performed the entire Brahms Requiem to an empty hall, all except me and our chorus master, June Tyzak. So it was a strange and surreal night. But then it precipitated another couple of weeks of constant change. And then the lockdown started, and that was incremental as well. And quickly what emerged as the lockdown became apparent was we have to find ways to keep playing, keep practicing, keep rehearsing, and we have to find ways to stay in touch with our audience and with each other. And they were the 3 most important things. I think also that communicating often and frequently so people feel that they understand what's going on, particularly when so much is changing and so quickly. So we made a really concerted effort to have updates going out regularly and make sure everyone felt that we were all on the same train.
I think I've heard from enough people that I can say on behalf of a lot of us, just say thank you for providing so much music through that time. It was one of those things that no one could go outside or do anything, and just having a little injection of music into our homes every day was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. just amazing, the power of music to just instill a little bit of positivity and
That's it,
optimism and hope, and that's what we set out to achieve. And all the musicians of the TSO created, curated, built the repertoire, and Robert Gibson and Caleb were behind all of that. So it was an amazing team effort.
Speaking of optimism, since things have been opening up again and we've been able to go out a little bit more and have dinners and go into cafes and have coffees, I've noticed this new brochure for next year and our posters on buses, and I've just been noticing a lot of TSO out in the public. Do you have any comments or thoughts on this topic at all?
Only that it's a great thing, and every time I see a bus with Emma McGrath on the side of it, I just get this huge flutter of pride and excitement. And I think the marketing team here at the TSO has done a phenomenal job. They've taken a very photojournalistic approach to next year, and it follows on the theme of our COVID year, which is really bringing audiences in behind the stage and seeing what goes on here in the studio, and the laughter and the jokes and all of the things that happen alongside the serious stuff. So seeing TSO from the inside on the outside is a real joy.
And speaking of bit of relief and downtime and behind the scenes, how about yourself? Do you listen to classical music?
All the time. Yeah. It's on at home. I'm taking my cues from a lot of the material that has been performed in Friday Night Live, and exploring outwards from there through Apple Music. But it's I trained as a musician, and it's in my DNA as well.
Fantastic. We've got the programs. We've got this wonderful interview where we've talked a lot about the upcoming things in the 2021 season. Do you have any final message, some sort of final message, or any words that we can give to our audience about the idea or the vision behind next year's program?
Yeah, I can, Hayato, and I sort of cast my mind back to 1948, and that was when the TSO was founded. And it was founded out of a covenant between the City of Hobart and the City of Launceston and the ABC. And they put together two groups of musicians, one from Hobart and one from Launceston. And through the ABC, the Tasmanian Symphony Orchestra was founded. And so you'll notice on our materials for next year that we've gone with the strapline that it's the TSO and we're Tasmania's orchestra, and that is a fundamental and has been the case for the last 72 years. And I think what we've learnt through COVID is the importance of our audiences to us. And so it's been for us about finding ways to be of service to all Tasmanians through COVID and beyond, and through our digital means and through being on the ground and travelling in small formats next year. We're here for all Tasmanians and trying to find entry points and pathways to connect with as many Tasmanians as possible. So we hope that everyone will come with us and be part of our journey in music together.
Caroline, thanks so much for joining us today.
It's a great pleasure.
That wraps up today's interview. We'll be releasing a lot more online content this year, so make sure to follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out our online content at watch.tso.com.au. My name's Hayato. Hopefully see you soon.